Hello, Spies. Yep, we're doing a different intro for this episode. Actually, this isn't just any old episode. This is the Season 4 premiere of the History of series. And this season premiere is a very special episode, because today I will be doing my first ever history video on both a hockey team and a minor league team. That team being the Cincinnati Cyclones, and all the mascots that they've used over the years. Now, I wasn't planning on doing a history video for February since I wanted to take a break, but then I got a message last year, a DM on Instagram, from a user named Cindy Monk, who told me her son with autism loves my mascot videos and requested me to do one of the Cincinnati Cyclones mascots. Now, I don't normally take requests, but this one stood out to me enough to go forward with the episode. So to Cindy's son, from one autistic person to another, this episode is for you. So in this video, I will be going over the history of all the mascots used by the Cincinnati Cyclones, from the mascots of the past to the mascots of today. This is the history of the Cincinnati Cyclones mascots. So before I talk about the history of Twister, Puckchop, and all the other mascots the Cyclones had, I'm going to go over the history of the team they represent, the Cincinnati Cyclones. Now, the history of the Cyclones is quite tricky and complex, so I'm going to try and summarize it for you. The Cincinnati Cyclones were originally created in 1990 by Doug Kirchhofer. They were originally part of the ECHL, East Coast Hockey League. The team originally played at Cincinnati Gardens, but as of today, they play at the Heritage Bank Center. The team has had many different NHL affiliates over the years. First the Montreal Canadiens, then the Nashville Predators, then the Florida Panthers, then the Buffalo Sabres, and as of now, they're affiliated with the New York Rangers. Wow, the one team that doesn't have a mascot. The team was somewhat successful as they made the playoffs in their first years, but they never won anything major. In 1992, Doug was granted a franchise team in the IHL, the International Hockey League. He chose to move the Cyclones' name to that league and start a whole new organization with the Cincinnati Cyclones name. The original Cyclones team from 1990 was then sold to new owners and rebranded. It has since gone by many different names in different cities throughout the years, but as of 2024, they are known as the Adirondack Thunder in New York. And now this is where our mascot story begins. Now, I believe the first version of the Cyclones didn't have a mascot, as I couldn't find any information about the existence of one from the early 90s. However, the second Cyclones team definitely did have a mascot, like this first one, who you can definitely tell was the first one. So sometime around 1992, just after the new iteration of the Cyclones was created, the team got a new mascot. So what did the team choose for their mascot? Well, you would think they would have gotten a plush-type mascot, or if you're a Disney fanatic, a fur character. But surprisingly, that's not what they went with. Instead, they created this. This is Mr. Cyclone, and as you can see, it's just a normal person wearing a hockey mask. I mean, I guess he looks like the old logo, but he still looks like something I've seen in my nightmares. Okay, I'm done roasting this guy. Let's go over some trivia about this guy. So I could find barely anything on this mascot. In fact, this is the only photo I was able to find of the character. But I was able to find a few fun facts about him. First, Mr. Cyclone was portrayed by Richard D. Frant, or Richie for short. He was an avid sports fan who worked with several high school teams prior to joining the Cyclones. Richie was able to convince team management to let him be the Cyclones mascot. Mr. Cyclone was actually pretty popular during his time as the mascot. He attended many charity events and even had his own fan club. Unfortunately, that's all I was able to find on Mr. Cyclone. I don't know exactly when he was retired, but the last mention of him was from around 1994, so he was probably retired around then. Maybe he stuck around for longer since he was pretty popular, but I just don't know. And sadly, the story of Mr. Cyclone doesn't have a happy ending. On April 22, 2006, Richard D. Friant, or Richie, the man who played Mr. Cyclone, passed away in his sleep at the young age of 46. Rest in peace, Richie. I wish we knew more about you, but I'm thankful we got to learn this much about you.
Intense, wild, in your face. It's a whole new brand of hockey. It's the IHL. Catch the maximum excitement. The Cincinnati Cyclones visit the Detroit Vipers Sunday night at 7:30 on Sports Channel.
The next mascot the Cyclones had in the 90s was, in my opinion, the superior mascot back then, at least compared to Mr. Cyclone. Because unlike him, this mascot was more of a traditional mascot wearing a full-body costume based on an animal. I'm of course talking about Snowbird. Now Snowbird is really interesting, as despite being the Cyclones mascot, he wasn't actually created specifically for the Cyclones. In fact, he wasn't created for any team, and was actually created a whole decade prior to joining the Cyclones. Snowbird was actually a news channel mascot. So the history of Snowbird, as just mentioned, dates back to even before the Cyclones were formed. It's a little long, so I'm going to try and summarize the story of how Snowbird was created. He was originally created for the news station WSNV4 in Nashville, Tennessee back in 1983. He first started out as a cardboard cutout. Snowbird was created by the station as a way to tell kids if it snowed and if their schools would be closed that day. Snowbird was only meant to be a seasonal thing, only during the winter months, but due to being extremely popular, he was eventually made a year-round character. Pretty soon after, a puppet version of Snowbird was created, and he became the mascot of WSMV4 TV. The puppet was used by the station for many things like interviews, weather reports, and even several half-hour specials. In 1986, a full-bodied mascot costume was created so he could be used for more events. Snowbird's popularity even caught the attention of other out-of-state news channels, who then began to license the character so he could be used on all their channels and be broadcast all over the US. One of those news stations to use Snowbird was Channel 9 News in Cincinnati. But in the early 90s, someone thought that Snowbird, a TV channel mascot, would be a great fit for the Cyclones hockey mascot. This is something that would either rarely or never happen today. Most teams would want an original mascot over a pre-existing character, not to mention copyright's a pain these days. But nevertheless, beginning in 1994, Snowbird was the new Cyclones mascot. Let's talk about the Snowbird costume. It's just the standard Snowbird costume used elsewhere, but this time he's in a Cyclones uniform. The costume is pretty similar to the puppet version, which leads me to believe the company probably took the patterns for the puppet and blew him up to human proportions. Starting with the head, he's got that typical puppet mouth look that you would see on the Sesame Street Live costumes. Actually, Snowbird looks a lot like the penguins from the Muppets, just with a different beak. He's got a wide open red mouth with a pink tongue, and the back of his throat is black. That's where the person looks out of. He has large white puppet eyes with a pair of earmuffs. Normally Snowbird wears a red scarf, but this Snowbird wears a hockey uniform and ice skates. This Snowbird also has a few variant outfits. First off, he's worn a few different earmuffs like these white and pink ones or the more common red and yellow ones. Here he is in a hula skirt while in a hot tub. Oh yeah, did you know that back when the team used to play at Cincinnati Gardens, there was a hot tub placed behind the goal specifically for Snowbird? That's so dope. And finally, Snowbird actually had a female counterpart named Snow Chick. I couldn't find anything about her except for this video, and based on that, it looked like she was just another Snowbird costume, but with a dress on. Now for some fun facts about Snowbird, or at least the Cyclone version of Snowbird. First, when he debuted in 1994, he was first played by Xavier University student John Davis. John actually played Snowbird prior to joining the Cyclones, as he portrayed him on his dad's local news station in Huntington, West Virginia. Next, based on his appearance, you would assume Snowbird is a penguin. However, according to his original creators, he's actually a dark-eyed junco, or junco? I don't know how to pronounce it, which are actually pretty commonly found throughout North America, especially in the winter months. In fact, their nickname is actually Snowbird, which is where our Snowbird gets his name from. Although I think some news channels did refer to him as a penguin, but in terms of the Cyclones, I don't know which bird theirs was. And finally, Snowbird was actually named as one of the best mascots in the nation during his run with the Cyclones, and he was invited to perform for other hockey teams across the nation. What did he perform? Well, it was your typical Philly fanatic type antics and skits like riding around the ice on an ATV, shooting t-shirts into the crowd, interacting with the crowd during the game, and doing funny dance skits sometimes with Snow Chick. Oh, and he also has some merchandise, like trading cards and plush toys, though not nearly as much merchandise as the TV Snowbird had. Snowbird would continue to be the Cyclones mascot for about 6 years before being retired after the 2000 season. Now you would think Snowbird was retired because either Snowbird was losing popularity as a whole, or a new millennium means a new mascot, but the actual reason for Snowbird retiring is a bit more sad. In 2001, the International Hockey League, or IHL, the organization that the Cyclones were a part of, ceased operations. And with that, a lot of the teams in the league folded, including the Cyclones. This meant both Snowbird and the Cyclones as a whole would be no more. Well, actually, not quite. While Snowbird is no longer the Cyclones mascot, he is still somewhat around in other parts of the US. While I believe Cincinnati news stations no longer use him, he still occasionally is seen on his original news channel, WSNV4 in Nashville, Tennessee. As well as a few other states continue to have the walk-around costume make rare appearances. As for the Cyclones, many fans were really upset with the loss of the Cyclones, as now Cincinnati had one less sports team to root for, but luckily the fans wouldn't have to wait long for the Cyclones' grand return. Sadly, Snowbird wouldn't be a part of this comeback.
Just before the puck drops, the lights go dark, and your blood begins to boil. The passion for this team, your team, begins to take over. You realize, I am part of something amazing. A team, a franchise, a winner. Can you feel the excitement? Get psyched.
Season kicks off on Saturday, October 25th. Season tickets on sale now. Call 513-421-PUCK to see how you can become part of a winner.
In 2001, shortly after the second iteration of the Cyclones folded, the third and current iteration of the Cincinnati Cyclones would be created. But they weren't always the Cyclones, as this new Cyclones team had gone by a few names over the years. They first started out in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky as the Louisville River Frogs in 1995. Their mascot was named Rowdy, and he looked like an evil relative of Cha-Cha the Tree Frog from Rainforest Cafe. But this team didn't last long in Louisville, as in 1998 they moved to Miami, Florida and became the Miami Matadors. Their mascot is pretty much lost media, as I couldn't find anything about him other than this photo, which makes sense since the team only lasted a single year. Finally, the team would be sold to a new ownership group who also bought the Cyclones name, and decided to revive the team for the ECHL. But enough of me talking about the team's history, you came for the mascot side of history. So when the team was relaunched in 2001, they decided to get a new mascot to replace Snowbird. After all, a new team means a new mascot. Though I use the term new loosely since he actually existed before 2001. Say hello to the Cyclones' new mascot, Twister, an anthropomorphic tornado, and probably the only tornado you would want to get near you. Twister is actually a character the team created prior to 2001, as dating all the way back to the early 90s, he was seen on both the jerseys and the logo for the team. Even on Snowbird's jersey, Twister was still present. So when the team returned and were looking for a new mascot, the obvious choice would be to turn to the cartoon tornado on the logo into a costumed character. And speaking of the costume, let's talk about that. In terms of Twister's overall design, he looks like they took the logo design and stuck it onto a human body. It's strange for sure, but it totally works. This costume was created by a favorite of the channel, Street Characters Inc., who, if you didn't know, is a Canadian mascot costume company known for making many iconic sports mascots, like several NFL and NHL mascot characters. As for Twister, he's one of the many minor league mascots this company has created. Starting with his head, again it looks just like the logo except instead of having red eyes, he has blue eyes. I guess the red eyes were too scary. I really like how they managed to shape his head to look like an actual Twister. Like you can see the different rotations. That's such a cool detail. He has a large toothy grin complete with a missing tooth, once again matching the logo, and this is also where the person inside looks out of. As for his body, it's nothing too special. It's just a normal humanoid body wearing a hockey outfit, hockey gloves, and oversized mascot shoes. One cool thing about him is his jersey number is F5, which is a reference to an F5 tornado. He does have a few variant outfits like a Santa Claus hat and a ninja mask as well as a mustache. And because that's pretty much all there is to his design, here's some other funny pieces of trivia for Twister made by the team that I didn't know where else to put in this video. He's 6'2", weighs 202 pounds, his favorite song is Thunderstruck, his favorite show is The Weather Channel, and his favorite movies are Twister, Slapshot, D3, and Youngblood. One interesting thing about Twister's costume is that, unlike most mascots, the top of his head is flat. This allows him to do something most other mascots can't do. So during an intermission or break at a game, Twister does this really cool trick where he balances on his head while sliding across 80 feet of the rink. To achieve this, the top of his head is covered in a layer of Teflon tape, as a way to decrease friction while he slides across the ice. Since the head is covered in a plush material, without the tape, he wouldn't be able to slide. He usually does this slide at least once at every home game. One notable time he did this headstand slide was in 2009, when he attempted to set a world record. It took a few attempts, but he did eventually manage to set the Guinness World Record for the longest slide on ice while doing a headstand. The total length of his slide came in at 144 feet. Twister was pretty well received by Cyclones fans, though most were just happy that the Cyclones were back. They didn't pay too much attention to the mascot. But just as things were finally starting to look up for the Cyclones, disaster struck, as in April 2004, just 3 years after the relaunch, the team suspended operations. This was because of two main reasons. First, the lack of money and revenue, and second, there was a ton of construction going on in downtown Cincinnati, which caused there to be little to no safe access to the arena for fans. So for the next year or two, Cincinnati would not have the Cyclones yet again, but thankfully in 2006 both the team and Twister returned, and haven't left the city ever since. Since the team came back in 2006, Twister has gotten to be a part of many cool and exciting events. For example, he got to see the Cyclones be ECHL champions for the first time in team history when they won the Kelly Cup in 2008. They also won the Cup in 2010, and even today they are constantly a playoff contender. He's also been attending many events around Cincinnati. Most of the events involved other mascots, such as mascot hockey games, mascot baseball games, or Cincinnati Bengals halftime Pee Wee football games. Twister has also received some merchandise, such as a pink hockey puck, a bobblehead, a snow globe, a large inflatable, and a plush toy. And just like everyone else in 2014, Twister participated in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And that brings us to today. As of 2024, Twister is still the main mascot of the Cincinnati Cyclones. Despite being created over 20 years ago, Twister has pretty much stayed the exact same since then. The only major change to his design being that in the mid-2010s, his gray-colored head became an even darker gray color. Another change made since was a little more unfortunate. when in 2014 the Cyclones decided to retire the Twister logo the mascot was based off of, and remove it from the jerseys in favor of a new, more modern-looking logo. But a new logo wasn't the only change the Cyclones made at that time, as something, or rather, someone, would be introduced. They decided to get a secondary mascot.
Cyclones hockey, it's more than just a game. The Cincinnati Cyclones return to US Bank Arena this weekend. Friday is Kids Eat Free Night. Saturday is the Cure Starts Now night. Help the Clones raise awareness for pediatric cancer. For ticket information, call 513-421-PUCK or visit CyclonesHockey.com. Cyclones hockey, more than just a game.
In 2015, the Cyclones decided to add a secondary mascot to go along with Twister. So what did they choose to be the second mascot? Well, they chose a pig. Now I immediately hear what you're thinking. Why in the world did they choose a pig as the mascot? It doesn't have anything to do with the Cyclones or Cincinnati. Well, that's where I gotcha. Their secondary mascot being a pig actually makes complete sense when you think back to Cincinnati's history. Way back in the 19th century, Cincinnati was known as the pork packing capital of the nation. Even today, Cincinnati has the nickname of Porkopolis. The best kind of pork came from Cincinnati. That and also wild hogs used to roam the streets of Cincy for years. Cincinnati is also famous for the flying pigs, which are symbols for the city that represent the angelic spirits of all pigs slaughtered in the city and sent down to the Ohio River. Wow, that got dark really fast. Also, they have a famous marathon every year called the Flying Pig Marathon. So now that you know the history of why pigs are important to Cincinnati, and why pigs are always brought up there, now let's explain how the Cyclones got their pig mascot. The Cyclones using a pig as a secondary mascot dates back to the year 2000 as part of an art project. In 2000, local artists and schools came together to create public art exhibits to be displayed throughout Cincinnati. This was known as the Big Pig Gig, and it consisted of hundreds of these large fiberglass pig statues being decorated and painted and spread all throughout Cincinnati and in parts of northern Kentucky. The event was brought back in 2012, and ever since then these statues have become an important part of Cincinnati. While many pig statues were sold on auction sites and placed in businesses, many are still scattered throughout the city, and that includes Puckchop. Yes, that's his name. Now the Puckchop statue was actually not created in 2000, but rather he was created as part of the second Big Pig Dig in 2012. You can tell this was the case because his jersey number is 12. He originally wore the classic Cyclones uniform and had a hockey stick, but the stick would be removed and the whole thing would be repainted after the team got new uniforms and logos. The statue was created by local Cincinnati artist Kate Dembski. Eventually, sometime after the statue was created, in 2015, the team thought it would be a cool idea to turn Puckchop into a costumed character. Let's talk a little more about the character and costume of Puckchop. The costume, while at first looks a bit strange and maybe ugly to some, he does look nearly identical to the statue. Also, if you think he's ugly, then you should know that pigs in general don't have the prettiest faces in the animal kingdom. The costume was created by local Ohio artist Christopher Tennant, who is a studio artist and 3D designer out of Columbus. He's done a few other costumes before, like Transformers and Sesame Street characters, but Puckchop might be one of his only sports mascot creations. Starting with the head of the costume, again it's pretty much a one-to-one replica of the statue, the only differences being the head being bigger, rounder, and having a smaller pig snout. The snout is also where the person inside looks out of, as well as the mouth. Speaking of the mouth, just like Twister, Puckchop has a toothy grin complete with a missing tooth. Man, is it really that common for hockey players to lose teeth during games? Anyways, his eyes are made to look realistic, and he's also wearing a hockey helmet and his ears are large with purple lines on the back. As for his body, it's definitely a pig body. It's very round with extra padding all around him. He's wearing the normal Cyclones uniform and his jersey number is 00, which is strange, since the statue has the number 12 on it. I wonder why that was changed for the costume version. Fun fact, when he was first introduced, he was actually kinda skinny, but over the years he's gotten much fatter. As for variants, here he is wearing a ninja mask for a TMNT event at one game. And here he is wearing a bunny ear headband for Easter. And just like Twister, Puckchop also has some funny pieces of trivia and fun facts about him. He's 6'2", weighs 513 pounds, his favorite song is Pig by Weezer, his favorite show is The Food Network, and his favorite movies are Babe, Chicken Little, Gordy, and Silence of the Lambs. The initial reaction to Puckchop being introduced was very mixed. Some people loved him, others hated him. Most of the people who hated him were just confused and didn't understand Cincinnati's pig history. Some were worried that Puckchop was going to replace Twister as the only team mascot. Thankfully that didn't happen, but that didn't stop the Cyclones from trying to do that for an April Fool's joke in 2023. Luckily, the majority of Cyclones fans welcomed him with open arms. Puckchop actually got a bunch of merchandise, maybe even more than Twister did. He's got pillows, plush toys, a pillow pet, a squishmallow, a few bobbleheads, an inflatable, mini statues, a wizard wand, and of course I can't forget, piggy banks. Puckchop also attends many events throughout Cincinnati. He actually goes to the same events as Twister, and often both mascots go together. One notable event was in 2017 at a Cincinnati Bengals game during the annual Mascot vs. Kids football game. Puckchop completely destroyed one of the kids by shoving him out of bounds. Don't worry, the kid is fine, but it's still so hilarious how serious the mascots sometimes take these halftime games. And that once again brings us to today. As of 2024, Puckchop is still the secondary mascot for the Cincinnati Cyclones, along with Twister. Before I end this video, I want to bring up two mascot related stories that aren't related to Twister or Puckchop but are still Cyclones related. First, in 2009, the Cyclones held a throwback night at one of their games, and something really cool happened. They brought back Snowbird. It was just for this one game, but I bet many people were happy to see him. The Cyclones these days don't reference Snowbird much, but once in a blue moon he gets referenced by the team. Second, just recently in January 2024, the Cyclones used an unofficial joke mascot named Corny the Corn Dog. The story behind Corny is that there's a tradition the Cyclones do where they have fans throw stuffed animals onto the ice, so they can be donated to charity. Well, during the event, a large corn dog plush was being thrown around and passed around the arena, and it ended up going viral. Now this corn dog was brought by a fan, but nobody wanted to throw him onto the ice, so the Cyclones took him in. He's already gotten many t-shirts and merchandise made in his likeness, and the Cyclones even joked that the team will change its name to the Corn Dogs. Obviously this was a joke, but some people actually believed it. I don't know who would be stupid enough to think a team would change their name to the Corn Dogs. That doesn't make much sense. And with that, this officially concludes the history of Cincinnati Cyclones mascots. And there you have it, the history of the different mascots that represent the minor league hockey team, the Cincinnati Cyclones. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I haven't done a minor league mascot history before, but now that I've done one, I might have to do more. And once again, special shout out to Cindy Monk and her son for suggesting this video. Thanks for watching the channel. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below which Cincinnati Cyclones mascot is your favorite, or if there's anything that I missed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the rest of the History Series Season 4. Bye-bye!
Cincinnati! Oh yeah, get your towels ready. It's about to go down. Everybody in the place get on your feet and cheer for your Cincinnati Cyclones. We running this, let's go.
I'm on the Clones, I'm on the Clones. Everybody look at me, cause I'm playing for the Clones. I'm on the Clones, I'm on the Clones. Take a good hard look, cause I'm playing for the Clones, yeah. I'm on the Clones, everybody take a look at me. Straight floating on the ice, everyone can see. busting C cuts, wind whipping in my flow. You can't stop me cause I'm going straight to the show.
The game, Nick, I got a new stick. We drinking so much Gato cause it's so crisp. I got my Sim bombs and my Vapor 40s. I'm on the ice, you at the club trying to pick up shorties.
I'm flying all over, throwing hits and sticks. The coach is yelling, ref better call that hit. But this ain't pee-wee, this is real as it gets. I'm on the Clones, everybody, don't you ever forget.
I'm on the Clones and we gonna win again. We got black and yellow themed equipment. I'm the king of the ice on the Clones like Ego with your Ron Toledo. Watch out for me-o.
Get up, this team is for real.
I'm on the ice, not land, everybody. I score goals, not baskets, everybody. I take showers with the boys, everybody. Our home crowd, make noise, everybody.
Hey ma, you can see me now, playing for the Clones, I don't know how. Gonna take this team to the Kelly somehow. If you believe in skulls, anything is possible.
Yeah, I never thought being the Clones was a long, hard working road. Lord Kelly, you and me, oh. I never thought I'd see the day. Got a big ring coming my way. Believe me when I say I should be in.
I'm on the Clones, I'm on the Clones. Everybody look at me cause I'm playing for the Clones. I'm on the Clones, I'm on the Clones. Take a good hard look cause I'm playing for the Clones.
Passing across, Egan scores! Again! Another play across the goal